I felt the leather beneath me soft and warm as the engines hummed to life. The private jet had only 4 seats and I was alone. Or so I thought. 3 flight attendants stood in the aisle, their smiles professional, but something else flickered. Behind their eyes, one leaned closer, his cologne mixing with the cabin's fresh air. "We'll make sure this flight is unforgettable," he murmured. My pulse quickened. This wasn't standard service. Before we dive in, please take a moment to like and subscribe. It only takes a second, but it helps more than you know. Now let's begin. The first attendant. Marcus moved with practiced grace as he poured champagne into a crystal flute. His fingers brushed mine as he handed it over, lingering. Just a moment too long. The bubbles tickled my throat as I took a sip, watching him through lowered lashes. Behind him, 2 others, James and Daniel, busied themselves with preparations, but their glances kept finding me. First time flying. "Private?" Marcus asked, settling into the seat across from me. The cabin was intimate, designed for comfort rather than capacity. Rich wood paneling, cream, leather ambient lighting that cast golden shadows. "Not my first time," I replied, crossing my legs slowly, "but something tells me this flight will be different." His smile deepened. "We pride ourselves on exceeding expectations." The jet climbed higher, leaving the ground far behind. Through the windows, clouds drifted like cotton beneath us. James approached with a tray of delicacies, fresh strawberries, dark chocolate things that melted on the tongue. He knelt beside my seat, offering each piece with deliberate care. "Try this," he said, holding a chocolate-covered strawberry. To my lips, I bit into it, slowly, juice threatening to escape. His thumb caught a drop at the corner of my mouth, and the touch sent warmth spreading through me. "Delicious," I murmured. Daniel appeared with a warm towel scented with lavender. "For your hands?" he said, but instead of giving it to me, he took my hand in his, cleaning each finger with careful attention. The warmth seeped into my skin, relaxing muscles I hadn't realized were tense. "You're all very attentive," I observed. "We aim to please," Marcus replied, standing. "In fact, we have something special planned for this flight. A new service we're testing. Very exclusive." My heart rate increased. "What kind of service?" "Entertainment," James said, dimming the cabin. Light, soft music filled the space. Something sultry with a steady beat that seemed to pulse through the air. "We thought you might enjoy a demonstration of our skills." They moved in unison, then a choreographed dance that spoke of practice and precision. Marcus loosened his tie, pulling it free with one smooth motion. James unbuttoned his vest, revealing a fitted shirt beneath. Daniel rolled up his sleeves, exposing forearms corded with subtle muscle. I shifted in my seat. Warmth pooling low in my belly. Is this part of the in-flight entertainment? Only for our most valued passengers, Marcus said, moving closer. He knelt before me, hands resting on my knees. "May I?" I nodded, breath catching as his hands slid higher, massaging my calves through the silk of my stockings. Behind him, James moved to my left side, fingers working magic on my shoulders, finding knots I didn't know existed. Daniel took my right side, his touch lighter but no less skilled, tracing patterns on my arms that sent shivers cascading down my spine. The plane hit turbulence, a gentle rocking that only added to the sensation. I was surrounded by warmth, by capable hands that knew exactly where to touch, how much pressure to apply. Marcus's hands moved higher, thumbs pressing into the muscles of my thighs, and I couldn't suppress a soft sigh. "Comfortable?" James whispered near my ear, his breath warm against my neck. "Very." I managed, tilting my head to give him better access. His lips brushed my skin. Not quite a kiss, just a whisper of contact that made me want more. Daniel's hand found mine, fingers interlacing. He brought it to his lips, pressing kisses to each knuckle before turning it over to trace the lines of my palm with his tongue. The sensation shot straight through me, electric and unexpected. Marcus looked up, eyes dark with intention. "We can stop anytime you want. Don't stop." I breathed. He smiled, hands sliding higher, still pushing the hem of my dress up incrementally. James's mouth found my collar teeth grazing lightly before soothing with his tongue. Daniel released my hand to cup my face, turning me toward him for a kiss that started soft, but deepened quickly, his tongue exploring, tasting the champagne and chocolate that lingered. When we broke apart, I was breathing hard. Marcus had pushed my dress to my waist, revealing black lace underneath. His hands stilled, waiting for permission. I lifted my hips slightly, and he pulled the lace down and off in one smooth motion. Beautiful. He murmured, leaning forward to press kisses to my inner thigh. Each touch of his lips sent sparks through me, building heat that seemed to gather and pulse with each heartbeat. James turned my face toward him, claiming my mouth while his hands found my breasts through the silk of my dress. His thumbs circled, teased until I was arching into his touch. Daniel's hands joined his, working together to ease the dress from my shoulders, revealing more black lace beneath. Marcus's tongue traced higher, finding sensitive spots that made me gasp into James's kiss. When he finally reached the apex of my thighs, the first touch of his tongue against my center made me cry, out softly, hips lifting involuntarily. He held me steady, establishing a rhythm that matched the thrum of the engines, building pleasure, layer by layer. James broke the kiss to trail his mouth down my throat over my collarbone, pushing lace aside, to close his lips around a nipple. The dual sensation, Marcus below, James above, threatened to overwhelm Daniel, captured my mouth again, swallowing my moans as the pleasure built higher. I was flying in more ways than one, suspended between earth and sky, between three sets of hands that played my body like an instrument. Marcus increased his pace, adding fingers to his ministrations, curling them just right, while his tongue continued its relentless attention. James switched to my other breast teeth, grazing before soothing with his tongue. Daniel's kisses grew more urgent, more demanding. The wave built slowly, starting deep in my core and radiating outward. My muscles tensed, fingers tangling in hair, whose I wasn't sure Marcus hummed against me, the vibration pushing me over the edge. I shattered, crying out as pleasure crashed through me in waves, my body arching off the seat. They held me through it. Hands gentling touches, soothing, as I came down from the high. When I opened my eyes, all three were watching me with satisfaction and heat. I couldn't finish the sentence, just the beginning. Daniel said, standing to unfasten his belt, "We have hours before landing." James stood to shirt already half unbuttoned, revealing a chest that spoke of gym dedication. Marcus rose from his knees, adjusting himself through his trousers with a look that promised much more to come. "Who's the first?" I asked, surprised by my own boldness. They exchanged glances, some silent communication passing between them. Then Daniel stepped forward, pants sliding down to reveal silk boxers that did little to hide his arousal. He freed himself with efficient movements, and I reached for him, wrapping my hand around warm, hard flesh. He groaned at the contact, hips pushing forward slightly. I stroked slowly, learning the feel of him, the way his breath hitched when I twisted my wrist, just so. Behind him, James and Marcus were removing their own clothes, revealing bodies that were works of art. Defined muscles, smooth skin, obvious desire. I guided Daniel closer, parting my lips to take him in. The taste was clean masculine, with a hint of salt. He groaned deeper, one hand tangling in my hair while the other braced against the seat back. I worked him with lips and tongue, taking him deeper with each pass, reveling in the sounds I drew from him. Marcus appeared at my side, fully naked now, his own arousal evident. I reached for him with my free hand, stroking in rhythm with my mouth on Daniel. James knelt between my legs, taking Marcus's earlier position, and the first swipe of his tongue made me moan around. Daniel, the sensation was incredible. Being pleasured while giving pleasure, surrounded by heat and want and skilled touches. James was different from Marcus, his technique more teasing, building me up slowly while I continued working Daniel. With increasing enthusiasm, Daniel's breathing grew ragged, his grip in my hair tightening. "Close," he warned, and I hummed, acknowledgement taking him deeper. He came with a groan pulsing in my mouth as I swallowed, working him through it until he stepped back on shaky legs. Marcus immediately took his place, and I repeated the process, learning his shape, his preferences, the spots that made him curse softly. James continued between my legs, 2 fingers joining his tongue curling inside me while his thumb found that sensitive bundle of nerves. The pressure built again faster this time. I moaned around Marcus, the vibrations making him thrust slightly. James increased his pace, and I was climbing until the second wave crashed over me. I released Marcus to cry out, body shuddering with release. When I could focus again, James was standing before me, still mostly dressed but clearly affected. I reached for his belt, eager hands working to free him. When I finally wrapped my lips around him, he sighed deeply, head falling back. Marcus moved behind me, then hands on my hips positioning me. I was still sensitive from 2 climaxes, but when he pushed inside me, the fullness was exactly what I needed. He moved, slowly at first letting me adjust, but soon found a rhythm that had me moaning around James. Being filled from both ends was intense, overwhelming. In the best way, Marcus's hands gripped my hips, pulling me back to meet each thrust, while James was gentler, letting me set the pace. Daniel had recovered and now knelt beside us, hands roaming my body, pinching nipples trailing down my sides, adding to the sensory overload. Marcus's pace increased, the sound of skin meeting skin joining. The hum of engines and soft music I was building again, impossibly a third wave gathering strength. James was close too, his breathing erratic movements less controlled. Together. Marcus growled, and somehow we managed it, James pulsing in my mouth as Marcus drove deep one final time, triggering my own release. The 3 of us cried out almost in unison, pleasure crashing through us like turbulence. We collapsed in a tangle of limbs, breathing hard skin slick with exertion, but we weren't done. The flight was long, and they were creative, finding new positions, new combinations. I rode Daniel while James took me from behind, an intense double penetration that left me incoherent. Later, Marcus lifted me against the wall. My legs wrapped around his waist as he thrust up into me while the others watched and recovered. Time blurred, marked only by the changing light outside the windows and the steady progress across time zones. We used every surface. The plush, carpet, the small couch, even carefully on the polished table. They were tireless, taking turns sometimes, all 3 at once, pushing my body to limits I didn't know existed. Between rounds, they fed me fruit and chocolate, gave me water and champagne, massaged muscles that trembled from exertion. The conversation was minimal, but charged compliments and encouragements and dirty promises that made me blush. Despite everything we'd done, as we began our descent, they cleaned me tenderly with warm cloths, helped me dress, fixed my hair. Looking in the mirror, I barely recognized myself, flushed, glowing, thoroughly satisfied. My legs were unsteady as we prepared for landing. This has been... I searched for words. Memorable, Marcus supplied. Straightening his tie, life-changing, I corrected. They smiled, professional masks sliding back into place, but their eyes held heat and memory. As the wheels touched down, James leaned close one last time. We hope you'll fly with us again soon. I laughed, breathless even now. Count on it. The door opened to reveal a waiting car, my real life rushing back. But as I walked down the steps on shaky legs, I knew I'd never look at air travel the same way again. Some flights take you places. This one had taken me to heights I'd never imagined possible. Tell me, would you take that flight if you had the chance? What would you do if you found yourself alone with such attentive crew? Leave a comment below. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed this journey, make sure to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss the next adventure. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.